You're listening to the Femtrepreneur Show, and this is episode 49. In this episode, we're talking about the 10 types of blog posts that you must have on your blog and why you should only be creating pillar content. Hey guys, it's Mariah.
And I'm Megan, and we are delirious while we're recording this.
I know.
Not really. Edit that outdoors.
This is our fourth batch record of today, so we're knocking them out. Okay.
But I'm really excited for us to chat about this, explain what pillar content means, and talk about the types of blog posts you must have on your blog.
Yeah, and my idea for this episode is to kind of give you, if you're a new blogger or maybe you've been blogging for a while, but you've been blogging the wrong way, which I will tell you about, which is when you just blog post updates about your life and just talk about what you're doing that day, which is not how you should be blogging. And I'll talk about that in a second. But to me, this is kind of like 10, maybe your 10 first blog posts if you're new to blogging, or 10 blog posts that you absolutely should have on your blog at some point. So maybe you figure out in your editorial calendar, you figure out how to work these in over the next couple weeks. If there's any of these types of blog posts that you don't already have on your website or on your blog, you want to make sure to incorporate them in the near future, because these are all really powerful types of blog posts that establish your brand or can drive a lot of traffic or can get shared out or can help you make sales of your product. So every one of these types of blog posts, these 10 types that we're going to talk about, has a purpose, and they're all really good to have on your website for different reasons. So before we get into that, I want to talk about what is pillar content, because each type of these 10 blog posts is what I call a pillar content. So,
and that is
what I was just saying,
pillar, like
a pillar,
like a column or a pillar.
Yes. This is pillar content. Like, it's the foundation. It supports your entire blogging effort, basically. To me, a piece of pillar content is a blog post that is evergreen, meaning it has a really long lifespan and it's not something that's time sensitive. So when you go and you blog as if you're blogging in a diary and you talk about what you did that day, or you talk about how this weekend you went and did XYZ, and then 2 weeks later it's irrelevant, right? Like, it's, if you're like, I'm going to this concert this weekend, here's the dates and here's the tickets, and then 2 weeks later, no one can go to that concert, so it doesn't matter. Not that you can't share things about that, but it's not evergreen content because it's time sensitive. This is something that news sites have to deal with a lot, because everything they create is outdated 20 minutes later. So for your blog, you want to make sure that you're not creating posts that are time sensitive or that have a really short lifespan and then they just expire and they're no longer relevant. You want to create blog posts that, as I call them, they're pillar, they're evergreen. There's something that can be relevant years and years down the line, okay? And they stay relevant for a long time. So I always have us repeating pillar, not filler content. Filler content is when you're like either, a top 10 listicle or something that's really fluffy, or filler content is just you talking about something that is only relevant for like a week or two and then no one cares about it anymore.
Yeah. Another thing that distinguishes pillar content is that it's going to get shared more on social media, because it is something that, especially over the lifespan, which we've already established is much longer than time-sensitive content, it's going to get shared a lot longer, and it's going to build this like long-standing momentum, and someone's going to come back to this piece of content and see that it had 200 shares on Twitter, and they're going to be, that's going to give it this huge level of social proof that you'd be missing if you didn't have this like pillar content.
Definitely. The other thing is that this type of content will generate traffic to your website potentially for years and years. This is what I'm talking about when it's pillar content. It's something that is a staple. You might have written this blog post 2 years ago and it's still driving significant traffic to your website because it's it's topic that's being searched for a lot, whether it's being shared socially and driving traffic that way, or it's just something that people are typing into Google or typing into YouTube or Pinterest or whatever, and they're finding the link to go to that article. This is something that has can be driving traffic to your site for years and years. I have blog posts like this that years later, they're still generating so much free traffic just organically. And it's ridiculous because it's it's not something that I've changed or updated in like 4 years.
Yeah. Well, and it's also related when you think about Pinterest. They say like the peak engagement on a pin is 3 months after it was initially shared. So when you're writing this piece of content, you want to make sure that when it's at its peak in 3 months, it's still totally relevant. So the people who find it then is just as impactful and helpful as it was the day it was published.
Basically, pillar content is an epic piece of helpful, like an epic guide type post or a really helpful in-depth blog post that has a long lifespan, evergreen potential, keeps getting shared, keeps getting traffic. That's the basis of a pillar post. So let's talk about my 10 favorite pillar blog post or blog topics. You should absolutely be creating these if you haven't already. We'll have a checklist of each one of these 10 posts, so you can check them off as you add them to your own blog. Of course, you might do that over a couple weeks or even a couple months, but I want you guys to be working towards having one of each of these on your website.
Yeah, so this is going to be a great resource for those of you who are just starting to blog and you're kind of at that stage of like, I don't know what to write about. Or even if you're just in a rut in your existing blog and you're not sure what to write about, making sure you have a piece of these contents. I mean, this is 10 blog posts at a minimum, and I think it'll just give you more inspiration from there. So you can get that checklist at thefemshow.com/49 and download it so that you can make sure you have all these blog posts.
Definitely.
Okay.
All right. Let's jump in. The first type of blog post that you have to have is the ultimate guide. So ultimate guides are like maybe has 7 to 10 steps that you outline in great detail. There's a lot of graphics, there's a lot of visuals, there might even be little videos inside this blog post. An ultimate guide type post is something that has a long lifespan because people are searching for this comprehensive guide. An example could be like the ultimate guide to buying your first house. And it goes through every single thing from the first, how to look for houses all the way through to the day you close. And that would be something that you could cover in multiple steps. Some people do these as a series because they can get that intense and that big. But an ultimate guide is something you should absolutely have on your blog and make it fit for your niche, right? So pick something like the ultimate guide to whatever you want to be known for, the ultimate guide to, raising the best chickens or something like that.
I just love your examples. They're just the most creative.
They're all from our students because we have some really successful students talking about the ultimate guide to raising chickens.
I love it. Definitely the ultimate guide in any niche can utilize that. And that goes for all of these. I think no matter what niche or industry you're in, these will apply to your business. Okay, second one is the tools and resources blog post.
Yes. So this one is a sort of list with explanations of what are the tools that are necessary for what it is that you teach about, right? That could be physical tools, like the 7 tools you need to build your first birdhouse, right? Or the 7 tools you need to renovate a camper. In my example, I think I have a post like that. But this also could be tools or resources that use digitally, right? Like we also have a blog post that's like the 7 tech systems you're going to need for creating your course. You need an email list service, you need a platform, you need a sales page, you need a couple different things. So laying out like what are the basic tools or resources that someone would need to just get involved in whatever it is that you teach.
I did one also on my website about the equipment I use to record a podcast. So
Perfect example.
I did it from a little bit of a different angle in that I'm not teaching people how to do videos or podcasts, but I was getting asked so many times, and people know me as like a tech resource or like a supplies resource. I can tell you what's the best. So I did like a video and podcasting equipment guide where I just listed all the different options.
So smart. So smart. And it could be, like you said, hardware, software, physical tools, like, the 10 paintbrushes you must have to, create works of art or something. This is also a little side note, but really good opportunity for you to use some affiliate links and earn a little bit of affiliate commissions by sharing tools and resources that you actually use. So good little income stream from those types of posts. Okay. So the next is an in-depth review of a product or service or something. So an in-depth review is when you review a specific product, service, software, whatever. You do a thorough review where this is important that you have actually like used this thing. And I think that these types of posts are so valuable because people who are looking to buy things online are searching for reviews for things. This is a little bit more advanced or a little bit more strategic, but if you are looking to make affiliate commissions through your blog, you want to be attracting potential people who are looking to purchase something, which is people who are looking for reviews. So again, this is a great opportunity to add a little bit of affiliate income stream to your blog or your business. But what you want to do is do an in-depth review of something and make it better than anyone else's out there. Like I said, this does take a little bit of time to put into it, but it can have such great search traffic and potential for earning you commissions as well.
Yeah, we did one. You did one about like why we used ConvertKit. And it was kind of an in-depth review of why we switched to ConvertKit. So yeah, definitely applies. And it's a great one. Like you said, to me, this is one that people are searching when they're in the buying stage, and they may end up clicking through your link to actually make that purchase. But
I believe my example
gaming it.
Oh no, sorry. No, right. It's not that, but it's just a thing of like people searching for XYZ reviews all day long. I'm searching for reviews all day long. My boyfriend is searching for reviews literally all day long.
That might be all my husband does at work.
It's
Sorry,
like,
Johnny.
what is it with like significant others just searching for reviews all day? I wrote down best lawnmower reviews, and people will type that in and they'll try to be looking for the best lawnmower. So it's really, really good. Just a really good type of post to have, knowing that people are searching keyword review all the time.
Totally. And maybe even like the year.
Yeah.
So the fourth type of pillar blog topic that we really recommend is tech tutorials, which is one that I love. I do want to put a little asterisk here that you do run the risk with tech tutorials of them becoming outdated if the tech you're reviewing updates, which I have run into. Most of the time for these type of content, you can usually just like add a line at the top that's like update. Lead pages changed this builder, so this only works with the standard builder, which I actually had to do on one of mine. Keep that in mind. To me, this is the only one on this list that like maybe might run the risk of not being evergreen. But most software platforms don't update all the time, so it should be good for like 6 months at the least.
This could be one of those things where the post is evergreen, but you need to update your content, like the fact that the post is getting found is like evergreen, so it still like has a long lifespan, but it's something that you're going to need to update more often. Totally. I know that's like the bane of your existence as a tech
I wish
girl.
software just stayed the same. Looks the same,
annoying.
Please, all the time. No, it's always great when software updates, so it's a good thing. But but we do still recommend tech tutorials. I think, Mariah, that's a great perspective to have from, is that you want the content you're creating to be as evergreen as possible. So keep that in mind when you're creating it. But an example you came up with, Mariah, was like how to manage your finances with Mint. So that could be like a tutorial on using Mint to help manage your family and business finances.
And the reason I used that example was because you don't have to have a tech or platform or systems related blog in order to have a tech tutorial.
That's a great
literally
point.
any niche. Like I could have a tech tutorial that's like how to design the interior of your vintage camper in SketchUp before you build it. So that I never talk about tech stuff on, the camper blog, but I could talk about how to design something in SketchUp, and that would be a tech tutorial that applies to that niche. So think about point. Yeah, how you can have a tech tutorial, but it could be for anything. I mean, there's like literally could be for any type of niche, not just like a technical. You don't have to be like, oh, I don't blog about tech stuff, so that doesn't apply to me. For you, Megan, I loved how you did that video that showed you using apps on your phone.
Oh yeah.
That was so cool. It was like 7 apps that I use on my phone, and it was actually you like tapping on and scrolling through these apps. It was so cool.
And it was like, I didn't know if anyone would even like that post, and I've been surprised by how many people have really enjoyed that video. So that's a great point. You can really get creative with these tech tutorials. I also think, to me, it almost could be reframed from a tech tutorial, excuse me, and more of like, gosh, what's the way to phrase it? It's like apps and resources that you use, like not an ultimate resources guide, but like showing how you do something in your business. Because people who follow you, like Mariah, you don't talk about tech stuff, but you are successfully executing marketing strategies using software and tech. So people want to know how you do it. So I think that applies to any industry, that no matter what you talk about, people are still curious about how you're executing it in your business. And so it totally gives you the opportunity to answer those questions through a tech tutorial or like a walkthrough or a screen share or a phone share or whatever. So I love those.
It could be, I mean, could be any type of how I manage, my chores in Google Keep, how I grocery shop with Google Keep. Like, doesn't have to be super techy. It's just like, how do you do something? Love that. Okay.
That's almost like maybe 5. We should rephrase that to like a how-to blog.
Yeah, it kind of is. It's like how to use something though. Okay. I want it to still be about like how to use, like I think you guys should have something that's like how to use either an app or a platform or something that you use in your behind the scenes life.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
But totally love that one. Okay, so that's number 4. Number 5 is your story. So everyone needs a blog post that is your story. I've noticed this on YouTube too. As I started watching more YouTubers, I've seen every YouTuber has a my story post. And it's just like who I am, what I've been through in my life, how I got here, what I'm doing now. This is something that I resisted writing a my story blog post for so long because it felt really self-indulgent. It felt like, oh, look, here's all about me, or like, here's what I've done and here's me bragging. But I felt I didn't want to do it. I don't want to be visible. I don't really want it. It's not about me, right? I'm like, this is about I was always about like teaching the content. It's teaching strategy. It doesn't have to do with a story. So what I realized now is that our My Story blog post is by far the most popular post we have because it resonates with people and people want to know about the person behind the blog. So if you haven't already written your My Story where you talk about your background, you talk about your life, you don't have to talk about everything that's ever happened to you, but you're just talking about who you are and how you got to where you are now. Why do you blog about what you blog about? Why is it important for you? Why do you feel compelled to blog about this topic? How did you get into this? Like, what have you done, And people will really resonate with that. You won't even understand how it can inspire and help people by telling your story. It took me years to understand that I could actually help people, not by teaching them step-by-step strategy, not by teaching them how to use a tech system or nitty-gritty, but I could literally make an impact by telling a story. And when you realize that, I think it really changes how you value your own background and you can start to bring it more to the forefront. So if you don't already have that My Story post, definitely write it. You can write it from the perspective of how it makes sense for your blog. I think the example I have is how I quit my job in 6 months by writing online, or could be anything like, how I survived, breast cancer, how I did anything, and you want to just tell your story. So
yeah, I think I've resisted this one because I feel like my life is boring. Like,
your life is not boring.
I haven't had...
You work with Femtrepreneur.
I know my life isn't boring now. I feel like my journey here was very, like, normal. Like, nothing... I didn't have this huge trial. I didn't have, like, any experience. Like, there wasn't the rags to riches or the, like, trouble at home or anything. And so I always feel like... almost like, why would anyone care? Which I think comes from the same place of where your fear was. It's like, why would anyone care what my background is? And I still struggle with it, and I want to share it one day, and I will, because you'll make me. But but I think wherever you're at this, it is worth it. I know people care about who you are behind your business. That's why when you do things more casual and informal, you get such a big response. Like whenever you're doing a Facebook Live, Mariah, and you're like, hair's up and you're looking like a little tired or whatever,
Real tired.
people love it because they feel like it's a real person and they can resonate. Whereas when I had my highly polished YouTube videos, people liked it. But the thing I heard 9 times out of 10 was that they liked the bloopers at the end more. I mean, not more, but like that's their favorite part because it showed me messing up and being imperfect. And I think your story ties into that draw. That's why vlogging, like video blogging your day, is so huge right now on YouTube because people just care about you and what you're doing, and it's so fascinating. So sharing your story is a step in that direction and takes you from being this expert online and turns you into this real person that they have a relationship with.
So important. That is the tweetable.
And we still hear about people every day still talk about that post you shared. Like it really resonates with people. So once you do it, I think you're going to see a really positive feedback.
Well, and one thing I would say is that another part, one reason why I resisted was because I was like, no one is going to be able to relate to my particular background. It's very odd. It's very non-traditional. I'm like, by sharing this, I'm alienating myself from my audience because no one can relate to the fact that I didn't have a 9-to-5 job. And like, I've always been this way. I've always like, not a lot of people can relate to the fact that I was like, I am not going to live a normal life and I'm going to move into a closet for $50 a month. Like it was not normal. So for me, you saying, Megan, that you are resisting because you think it's not interesting enough or not boring enough. I would argue so many people are going to resonate with your story and be like, I also felt like my life was boring. So many more people can resonate with like, I had a 9-to-5 job in corporate and then I worked my way to be able to work, on my business full time. And so I would say it works both ways. For me to say, oh, my story is unique, to me was a drawback because it's alienating to my audience that couldn't understand it.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Really, my story is that I found Mariah and she changed my life. So
oh,
there it is in a nutshell.
You should definitely write a My Story post. Either write it for your website or write it as like a blog post for Femtrepreneur, because it is so interesting. And just to be able to have, I don't know how people do it when they have a 9-to-5 job, because to me that is like, how did you do it? How did you have time? I'm like, I would rather dumpster dive for food so that I have plenty of time. But like, I know that not everyone's brain works that way.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about, we could do a whole series of the Femtrepreneur team telling their story.
I would love that.
Okay.
So all of our team members are so interesting and awesome.
I know. Okay.
Can't wait.
Back to the 10 topics, 10 blog post topics. So that
number
was
6.
Number 5 was your story. So number 6 is the case study, which I
wish we had like a voiceover artist that would be like, number 6.
Like, there it is. You should just do it for us.
I'll do it for each one. Number 6 is the case study. So a case study could either be your own case study, or it could be one of your clients or one of your students. If you have an online course, it could be for someone that you've worked with or whatever. But the case study is basically like how Julia lost 10 pounds in 30 days with a paleo diet. It's a case study to me is how someone got a specific result in a specific time frame. It can sound similar to the My Story thing, but it's compressed. It's like how I did XYZ, got this specific result in this specific time frame. That to me is a case study. Whereas My Story is like, here's the last 10 years of my life.
I also think case studies can be about you or someone else. And to me, case studies always have more data. Like,
yes,
pictures of your email list, or like pictures of you. I don't know. To me, there's
before and after of losing weight, or
there's
whatever,
like data.
Pictures of you working out, like progress pictures, like all this stuff.
It's like data, and also like the journey in the content is like the actions you took, kind of.
Yeah.
Like I did this and I saw these results, and then I did this and I saw these results. Whereas like your story is definitely, like you said, much broader, and like your life story, and not like they might overlap. Like maybe your case study covers a piece of your story.
Totally.
But this is also a fun way to feature like industry experts or students. You can do case studies of your students and like what worked for them. If like, I know for us, we have students who, we recommend webinars, and maybe they like didn't do webinars and still found great success. We would love to feature them as a case study, as an example that you don't have to do webinars to have a great course launch or something.
Yeah.
So you can always,
How Susie grew her list to 500 people without webinars.
yeah,
Something.
or like how someone made so much money on their blog without affiliate links or without Facebook ads. All those things are really awesome.
Yeah. Case studies, definitely try to feature them. Start with doing them from yourself if you don't have students or clients, and then feature people who have been through your program. All right, moving on to number 7. I've been practicing that voice because I went to a conference and like there's like that announcer that's like, and now your host, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then everyone's like clapping, and like I was making fun of it so much that I'm now in that mode.
You know, Johnny's dream job is being a voiceover actor. So,
Why
like,
doesn't he do our podcast?
I know. I could totally. He
He's
would
hired.
love to do it. Johnny, if you're listening, you
Oh
got
my
a job.
gosh. You should seriously do that.
No, like that's his dream. He did a few gigs in college. He like
Definitely do
did
that.
the voiceover for this like commercial that used like a bee, and he was like the bee's voice.
Oh my God. Okay, well, this is happening.
Sorry.
Next time
Tangent.
you guys are listening,
Might
Johnny
take a
King is going to be, in his bee voice, is going to be
Oh,
announcing
God.
the podcast.
Yeah, cool. We'll have a new intro and everything.
Excited about this. Okay, not gonna let this slip away. I promise. Okay, number 7. This is taking so much longer than I thought it was. Number 7 is the comparison blog post. So this is when you compare 2 things in your industry. It could be 2 tools, 2 piece of software, 2 products, like, you know, comparing, could be 2 ingredients. I'm trying to think of 2.
I mean, the
2
go-to
things.
for me is like Squarespace versus WordPress.
Yeah. Could be
Boom,
comparing 2
done.
different protein powders, like
Yeah.
Vega versus food or whatever.
To me, the differentiation between the review of a product and the comparison is that the review of the product might be focusing on like, which was number 3, might be focusing
Yeah.
on like one item, like the best
thing.
lawnmower. Or it could be like comparing the top 5 lawnmowers. To me, the comparison is the true one thing versus one thing. Like I see a ton, I know I keep going back to WordPress stuff, but I always see WordPress versus Squarespace versus Wix. Like,
Yeah.
or WordPress versus Squarespace, or ConvertKit versus MailChimp, or I see a lot of tech examples out there, but it's like the true nitty gritty, something versus something, and you give an in-depth review of each and pros and cons of each, and at the end you make like an ultimate recommendation. That's like the format I usually see for these things.
Definitely. And you have to think about, again, people are typing into Google X versus Y. Like people are looking, or they might type in, you know, 2 products comparison, because people, again, before they buy something, they're probably looking for that if they are aware that there are multiple options already. And this can be something that obviously drives a lot of traffic, but is also shows that you have tested both things. If you're trying to be an authority in your niche, this is something that we want to do as well, which we probably have already done by the time this is aired, is create more comparison charts. Because if we're going to be the authority on like what are the email list platforms, like what are the course platforms, what are the blogging platforms, like you said, the comparison of Wix versus Squarespace versus WordPress, it can help you stand out as like the authority, that you aren't biased to one or the other, but you've compared them.
I also think, to me, the difference, I know I'm focusing a lot on the difference, but the reviews of products, the way you're going to frame that is from someone who doesn't know what their options are. So it's like, what's the best email service provider? What's the best website platform? What's the best protein? Whereas the comparison is going to be someone who knows the names of their options and is specifically curious about 2 or 3 against each other. So like whey protein versus pea protein. Boom. Like they know those exist and they want to know the difference. It's not just like what's the best type of protein. So you could almost have both. And to me, the review would have more than probably 5-ish. I don't know. I'm making that number up. More than 2. And the comparison is going to be specific platforms like in the title, and they're going to know what their options are, and they're kind of reaching people at different places in their journey.
Definitely. Love it.
Okay. The next one is the before and after.
Ooh, the transformation or the makeover.
Ooh, all of those are good.
So the before and after is pretty much like it sounds, before and after of your bathroom renovation, or before and after of when you started working out and you went through BBG and what you look like now. And it could be like before and after your house. I'm trying to think.
BBG is Bikini Body Guide by Kayla Itzines, in case anyone's curious.
For anyone who doesn't know.
I mean, before and after, now I'm just thinking of the examples you had, but you actually did one.
Photography, maybe? I see people being like, look how bad I was at photography, and now I'm good.
You actually had a blog post where you showed the before of our Filmedpreneur website and the after when we did
such a good example.
And a redesign. So you might have to get...
That's such a popular one.
I know, people love it. So think about different things like before you change something in your personal life or your business that's relevant to your audience, document the before. Again, all of these are enhanced with like proof and photos and data. So the more of that, the better. But this could come from so many different angles. Like if you do have a journey like Mariah, your before could be you know, your life in the punk house. And after you made this one change, your life in the camper, you know. I don't know. That may be a bad example. But no matter what industry you're in, even like I'm thinking of our student Rebecca who does like Bible journaling. It could be like, what was her life like before she practiced Bible journaling? And what is it like now? Or like meditation or, you know, manifesting. There's so many different things. Like you can compare before you started implementing something to after.
Totally.
Okay.
I love that.
Number 9 is the Mythbuster type of blog post.
Yes. So again, works for any industry, any niche, and everyone should have one of these. These are also important blog posts to have as part of your launch sequence when you do go to launch your course. But having a post where you bust the sort of top 3 to 5 myths that people believe about your topic or your industry, you know, could be like top 5 myths about yoga, like, oh, yoga is only for super peaceful people, or like people who do yoga are weak, or like if you do yoga, you have to be super woo woo,
you have to be super flexible, or
like yoga is only for women, or like something could be just myths about whatever it is.
I had a Squarespace one. It was I wasn't smart enough to say the word myth in it though, so I think mine is called like, can I do that with Squarespace?
That one's better.
And it was like all these, I don't remember the number, but it was like, you know, all these misconceptions people had about Squarespace, and I answered the question. So it's also like, to me, these are surprisingly easy to execute. Like as far as like looking at the list of things we've done, like you're basically just answering questions like, can I do this? Or like, this is the myth, and you're just like addressing it. It's not like, you don't have to have all of this, you know, the data or like the emotional attachment of your journey, or like getting someone to write a case study for your blog, or the length of the ultimate guide. So to me, the Mythbuster one is really, really important, and one of the easier ones to actually execute.
Definitely. You should definitely have it. It establishes your authority too, because you're saying, oh, well, everyone believes this, but I am the expert and I know something different. So really good one to have. Okay, the next and final, our 10th pillar blog post topic that you guys should have on your blog is what we call the take a stand post. And this is your opportunity, and you really need to take advantage of this, and you need to have this on your blog. This is your opportunity to share something that you deeply believe, and share something that maybe is counterintuitive to what other people in your industry believe, or share something that you disagree with in your industry. Share a problem that you have with the way things are done, the business as usual, whatever that means for your niche. What is something that you don't agree with, or something that you have a problem with? This is where you take a stand and you share your opinion, you share your unique perspective, and you make an entire post about it that positions you as a thought leader, essentially, and positions you as someone with a differing opinion. And it can be a little bit controversial. It could be something that just is you being like, these are my values. These are beliefs that I have. I know that not everyone will agree with me, but it's important for me to share this with you guys. And these can become the posts that establish who you are as a brand, that establish your voice and your personality, and attract the right people to you.
They're so good. I feel like they also get shared a lot
Totally.
all of these do. But
really
to me,
socially shareable.
Yeah, this one has a big share impact. It's a conversation. I feel like the comments and engagement on this one will be higher. You will have people that disagree, and that's great. That's totally fine if people disagree with you. That doesn't mean you've excluded them. It might just make them respect you more. I know sometimes, Mariah, you on our coaching calls with our students, you'll like verbalize how you feel about a certain trending topic in courses like beta testing or something, and you'll express how you feel about that. And not every single student will necessarily agree with you, but they will respect your insights and they will take them into consideration. I feel like most of them end up totally agreeing with you, but even if someone didn't, it doesn't turn them off. It just makes them respect you and see you in a different light as an authority who's willing to kind of say those things.
Definitely. We can differ in opinion and still have a great conversation.
Totally. So quick recap on the 10 pillar blog topics. Number 1, ultimate guides. Number 2, tools and resources. Number 3, reviews of products, software, etc. Number 4, tech tutorials, like how to use something. Number 5, your story. Number 6, case studies. Number 7, comparison. Number 8, before and after, or the transformation or the makeover. And number 9, Mythbuster. And number 10, take a stand. So those are the 10 pillar blog topics. And do you want to talk about the checklist again?
Oh, no, you go for it.
Oh, okay.
We have a checklist.
We have a checklist with all 10, like we said at the beginning of this episode, so that you can make sure you have all 10 on your blog and website. So, because we totally recommend it. So you can get that at thefemshow.com/49. That's where you can get the checklist as well as the blog post that fully accompanies this. And I'm sure we'll have some examples in there as well. So make sure you go there and get the checklist. And if you want to discuss this episode with us and our amazing community of online entrepreneurs, make sure to join our free Facebook group at thefemshow.com/community.
If you like this episode, subscribe to the Femtrepreneur Show on iTunes and leave a rating and a review. We really, really appreciate it when you do. If you're watching this on YouTube, please leave a comment below so that we can talk with you guys about how you like this episode or any aha moments that you've had. And remember to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. If you have a question that you want Megan and I to answer live on the show, then go to thefemshow.com, submit your question, and we will give you a shout out. And we will see you next week. Do you know those Mio things?
Wait, that's like your electrolyte stuff, right?
Yeah.
This is wine flavored Mio.
Yes.
And it matches my shirt. I try to wear wine colored shirts when I drink wine so that
it all
I can't
blends
see
in.
stains.
That's actually really smart.